your command.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show, Getting Down with Dave C. How's everybody going out there? Thanks for being in. We've already got FKHC 2005, and Comic Relief Crusader had to go to the store and go get some cookies. So we are doing the Black Panther series. Yes, the original ones from 1977. We're supposed to do 1 and 2 last week. Why this mic is always in my way? Okay. Hopefully you can still hear me. Okay. So we did issue number 1, broke into the Jack Kirby 1977. We're supposed to do number 2, but we didn't quite get to it. Talked about a lot of different things. So hopefully we'll get into number 2 and number 3. So yeah, I know. I love these comic books. They're pretty good. So I hope everybody's doing okay. My compadre, JT Kirk, is in an ice storm right now. So I don't think he's going to make it. The power went out and he's having a little bit of a rough time up there in the winter storm. It was about 80 degrees down here north of Tampa, down here in Florida today. I was like, oh, wow, I didn't even realize it. Went outside and got a little bit of sun. Not too much, but you know how it goes. So without further ado, I am going to add that comic to the stage so that everybody here can read it as well. It looks like it is working. And I'm going to stop my cam. Oh, where'd it go? There we go. Okay. That should do it right there. So last week we had the comeback for Jack Kirby for Marvel. I guess he had gone away for a little while working on other different projects for other people and came back. Now there was another run called Jungle Action where Black Panther appeared starting in issue number 5. I can't remember how many of those were. I had those too, man. I got to go back and get those. They were so good too. I can't think of that guy's name. But anyway, Jack Kirby came back to Marvel and started doing these. Hey, buddy Hepburn, how you doing? Hope you're doing well today. Let me give you a good shout and a hail out there. I always use my other computer because I can't go back and forth. It's way too much trouble on this one computer. Yes, hey buddy, JT's stuck in an ice storm up there where he's at, and he's having problems with the power. And I was telling the weather's kind of crazy. It was about 80 degrees here north of Tampa. So, yeah, Matthew Powder, everybody's rolling in. Awesome. Thanks for being here. I appreciate it. So, yeah, we did issue number 1 last week, and we're going to get into issue number 2. And just double check and make sure it's coming on your YouTube side over there. And yes, although you guys have an ad. Yeah, let me get rid of that ad for you. I think that should make it go away. There should be another one. Yeah, it's gone on my side. There it goes. All right, cool. So sorry for scrolling up. So here's the cover, obviously. And we got introduced to that lady over there, Zonda, and Mr. Little. Mr. Little's kind of like he's working with Black Panther, and he's like an artifact collector. And so is Zonda. They don't like each other. Mr. Little and Zonda don't like each other, but they're chasing the frog. If you guys remember that, the frog is a statue. It's a little big bronze type metal statue. And yes, it's actually a time machine, but it doesn't get into too much of that in the comic. So don't get too upset for the people who can't stand time machines and stuff like that. But it did beam in a future human being from like 6 million years away. So it's kind of cool. And there's the credits for Jack Kirby, edited, written, and drawn by Jack Kirby. There's a little introduction here. I kind of like that. I didn't really read it last on the number 1, went back and read it. And he says comic book fans are pussycats compared to the insatiable collectors. So yeah. So Black Panther and them got into a big fight with this guy. He looks like from the Star Trek, the first episodes of Star Trek, or however you guys want to call the first episode or not, with the big brain. And he starts blasting everybody and get into a big fight. But I was just looking at the artwork and everything here. And I noticed again that the big splash, the big page here is hard to read the writing. It's not like that. It will get better. I will scroll it down. I can show you here so you can read it. If you're having trouble reading at least this page, it's a double page. That's why it's like that. So in the comic book, it's really cool. So lots of action. These are the henchmen, Santa's henchmen. They get into it with this character who has a Hatch 22 written on his head. We'll get into explaining what all that stuff's about. Yeah, he doesn't care for the humans here. He doesn't regard them in any high regard at all. So, anyways, Ed is like, "Hey, henchman, go do my fight," and they're like, "Yeah, we're trying, man. It ain't working out too well." So we'll get to where you can at least read the writing here. And he says he's from the 6th era of man. That's okay. All right. And the whole premise here, if you missed last week, is that this artifact, this frog that they were trying to collect, Xanda and Mr. Little, if you mess with it, it can make people come back from the future, and it never ends well for anybody. So that's what's going on here. And they're trying to find King Solomon's mines on top of everything else. So interestingly enough, they're in this big fight, and this henchman right here tries to sneak up on the guy. He'll need a third eye. Well, guess what, dude? Hatch 22 has a third eye, and he just gets vaporized. So there's some good comic book violence for you right there. I mean, he just gets obliterated. But the colors are great, and not a lot of dialogue, but he has the boxes explaining. And I really like the way Kirby does this. I won't read these off too much, but he really gets you into the feel of things. But there is a third eye. It's a sensory organ, and it emits a beam of deadly microns. So he really gets into it. Yeah, and then the guy just gets totally vaporized. And so now they're kind of like, wow, this dude is kind of powerful. What are we going to do here? And I hope I'm not going too fast going through this. Try to get it to where you guys can read it over on the YouTube side. So the Black Panther does this really weird thing. I was kind of laughing. I thought he was like trying to crawl up. You know how cats do that crawl up? But he's really trying to just distract the hatch here. And it works, obviously. And he goes, "Oh, I've got his attention. This isn't a hostile act." And the dude's like, What are you doing? So it's kind of funny. Why do you do this? I don't know. This. Anyway. So, but it looks like he's like doing push-ups, right? I thought I read in here earlier because I went back and read this again today, a couple hours ago. Yeah, so he does say we do push-ups here. So I'm like, okay, as long as it works. Yeah, and it distracts him for just a second. And he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna make you a pet." Like, all right. And yoink, Black Panther just cracks him a good one. You know, Black Panther's strong, fast, very powerful guy. So he drops this dude. And I mean, I like the artwork. I mean, there's a lot going on. This is a really good scanned copy. This is on readallcomics.com. So the colors are really standing out. All right. Then we get down here, and then he's like, "Hey, you did it. You put him out of action. He could have killed us all." And now, if you don't know that this character, Jack Kirby, seems to kind of make this Black Panther T'Challa here. He's a very nice guy, and he only throws blows when he has to. So it's like, even though he jacked this dude, after he watched that other guy get completely annihilated, he's still like, I don't feel proud of myself. Using deception is not my style. And I'm like, Well, I mean, the dude's got laser beams coming out the back of his damn head. So do what you got to do. Yeah, but you just look at the pictures. I know a book back in the day when I was young, sneak around saying I only looked at the pictures too. But anyway, they're like, "What is the henchman?" And this Sanda's henchman, they like to talk a lot and put a lot of input in. She lets them have a little leeway in what they say and stuff like that. But you'll have to go to the issue 1 and see that what I was talking about. But yeah, he's a man, and he's supposed to be from the 6th era, whatever that is. She's like, okay, well then we need to take the thing out. Just go ahead and put it out, take care of it, eliminate it. And of course, Black Panther's not going to have any of that, even though he knows how powerful it is. But I like the swishing action of the gun. He draws it to where you can see. She's like, whips her pistol out there. He's going to shoot the guy while he's laying down, and he's like, bloodthirsty female. This is the only gun. So this is a couple times you're going to see that Black Panther doesn't really like guns, although I haven't quite seen where he says it, but his actions are he's kind of like a Batman type guy, at least for now. Now, whether you guys have run into Black Panther later on with different adaptations where he does use guns, but I don't remember seeing it. So yeah, so he blocks her from like murdering this dude, but that guy just murdered her henchman. So she's not that moralistic, so I can't blame her here. She's like, well, you got to do something about that dude. We can't, he's like, no, we're civilized. I'm like, well, like I said, I can't blame her too much. She just watched one of her dudes get vaporized, and then she's like, yeah, he was going to make you a pet, and we're going to be pet monkeys and all that kind of stuff. And but Black Panther toes the line on it, gives a little bit of a speech there. And he's like, well, we got to send him back to his own time. And for those of you guys didn't see, yeah, you're right, Matthew, you love dangerous women. That's the frog there. And apparently it's kind of like a genie in a bottle type thing. It doesn't really do much unless you mess with it, pick it up, slam it, throw it down. That's what happened in issue 1. They threw it down and brought that dude there. So as long as you don't mess with it, it doesn't do much, as far as I know. They call it the brass frog. Sorry about that. Yeah. And Xanda, she's really, really greedy when it comes to relics. And she's like, don't touch it. It's mine. It's my precious. That's when I read that. I just started laughing. And I was like, oh, got a little Tolkien in there, huh? All right. And then he kind of strips into, you're just an arrogant presumption. We got to take this back to King Solomon's mine. So the whole premise of issue 1 was trying to just get rid of it, bury it in King Solomon's mines, which oddly enough, though, Black Panther doesn't even believe it exists. But I guess he caught on to the fact that it does after he's been seeing this stuff. I'm not sure. Yeah, because issue 1, he's like, nah, I don't even believe in King Solomon's mines. But then this thing kind of starts activating. You're like, uh-oh, quit messing with it, right? But nothing really happens right there. So they're trying to kind of decide what to do. It's a time machine, woman. It brought us the menace from the future, but it cannot return him on his own age. And you guys in the chat, I got a little confused about that. I must have missed this. I read it before, but how does he know that it can't do that? I can't remember. If anybody can help me, that would be cool. I'll try to keep up with the chats because I'm flying solo for now. I think Mark D with a C might pop in. I know he's on another stream. So we'll see it. And maybe D-Bud, but I kind of sent them the thing too late. Yeah, Archibald Hale, Quantum League Frog. Yeah, it is kind of like that, to be honest with you. A little audience license here. I'm not sure how Panther knows it can return, and gets a little confusing later, but I'll bring that up when we get to it. Exactly. The twin to this frog will complete a time machine. Oh yeah, so it's right there. So I was like, twin, what? I'm so confused. when did the twin frog come up in issue 1? I don't remember reading that. I have to go back, I guess. I should have done it earlier, but I was like, maybe somebody in the chat or JT or Mark could help me out with that. But anyway, apparently there's a second frog. And now they've got to go find that one and put them together to send old Hatch 22 back to the future. And then he throws away the gun. See, that's what I was talking about. The gun, he doesn't even want it. He just tosses it. But Xanda's like, nah, man, we just need to kill this dude because he's too dangerous. You know, if he when he wakes up and stuff, he's gonna jack us up. Right? So she's not quite wrong. And you know, she's not really saying she wants revenge for the henchmen, but if I was her, I'd want revenge for my henchmen, I guess, you know. But he calls the being a Black Panther the Panther cult. I thought that was quite interesting. I've kind of forgot about that reading this before a long time ago, and having the Jungle Action. I can't quite remember them saying that. But reading the Jungle Action series was quite a long. That was years ago. So I'm a king's son raised in a noble tradition. My people are builders and scholars. So he takes the high road on a lot of things, which is good. He's got a good moral character. Right. But I'm kind of like, maybe they should tie Hatch 22 up or something. I don't know. While he's just laying there, you got to do something with him. Little Xanda's moving in. She's like, oh, wow, handsome too. I started laughing. Kirby's a good writer. I can't really even describe how he does this, but he's just kind of laid back and puts funny things in, keeps the action going. With his dialogue boxes, not dialogue bubbles, but Panther's not having any of that. So he's like, you've done enough. You've robbed me of a friend. So in issue 1, one of the henchmen, I believe, shot Mr. Little in the chest, but he's always prepared, guys, right? That's his like thing. This is an MO. He's always prepared. And if JT was here, if you're listening, he kind of called this out on issue 1. And JT, you got it right. And we'll see why here in just a second. Xanda doesn't really care. She doesn't like that guy. He doesn't like her, Mr. Little. He played a dangerous game and lost, you know, the FAFO. My men were waiting for him, so he lost. So what? Right? She doesn't really care. And he's playing the high road again. He's a collector like you, but his motives were without greed. So he thinks anyway, right? And then he's like checking his little buddy there, and he kind of realizes what JT had already called out and got it right, that yeah, Mr. Little's wearing like bulletproof stuff here. And he kind of comes to, right? And you're like, dude, this guy's always got a trick up his sleeve. And he's like, Mr. Little's always prepared, right? It was like all through issue number 1, he always had something, and we'll see more of it, obviously. Oberon, yes. Oh, Oberon. I was thinking Orion. My bad, Matthew. She caught that indestructible rodent. I'd seen the last of them. Like, golly, Xanda, I know you don't like that guy, but come on, man. He just, you know, she doesn't really care if the guy lives or dies. I mean, truly. But that was kind of funny. And Panther's helping him get up, and he's like, oh, what happened, man? And he's like, where's all my stuff? What's going on? He's completely out of it. He calls him, you young jackanapes. I don't know what that is. That's old school type of terminology back in the day. And then she calls him an insufferable little pipsqueak. And I was like, can use that term a lot these days. They should have shot you through the eye with his eye monocle instead of just like, golly, man. She's just laying it on this dude. And he's like, Princess Xanda, you're scurrilous knaves. We're waiting for me. So I love the dialogue, the way he writes. And then she's complaining, yeah, I mean, I had that frog, man. And oh boy, here kind of took it away from me. And Black Panther's like, enough squabbling, you guys. We gotta work together here. And he's like, yeah, okay, really. Then an interesting thing kind of happens. There's like all this mystic type stuff flowing around, and at that moment, the chamber is invaded by a strange substance. Hold on, I need a drink of water there. Phrasing. And then they're like, "Oh, what the heck is going on here?" And this guy pulls a ectoplasm, some Ghostbuster stuff. He goes, "Oh, I've seen this before." And I'm like, "So what? They're getting slimed?" Um, but he does explain it. So I like that. You're not left to just guess. So Kirby says here, I've seen this with mediums and seances. It's ectoplasm. And he's like, material of the mind. So Panther knows what this stuff is, which is kind of cool. And could be more mental than our visitor from the future. And they're like, oh, it's kind of like we're watching something here. So they see all this time and space going through, or I should just say space, not time, but galaxies and all this bright lights and stuff. And then he's talking and he's like, well, that looks like the moon and stuff like that. And so they kind of catch on to the fact that maybe they're looking into the future. They're not quite sure. Like, well, that doesn't really look like the Earth, but maybe they're like communities or countries or something like that. They're not really sure. They're just trying to figure out what the heck's going on while they're standing there. And Panther kind of assumes like, oh, man has gone underground. And we've seen that kind of stuff before in sci-fi, right? Many, many times. And that's the ticket. You couldn't survive on the Earth. And at least he didn't go into some scorched earth type stuff. He just said it and moved right on. So we didn't have to deal with that. That's good writing to me. No need to elaborate on why all that stuff happened, right? And she's like, oh, that's it. Yeah. Those discs are the hatch covers. And then we see where hatch 22 comes from. So now we get the mysterious forehead print. There's the meaning of it, Mr. Little. It's the home of our visitor from the future. And I'm like, that's pretty interesting. So I think he said 6 million years. So it's a long time, right? I guess. Well, at least for us, it's a long time. And so now Mr. Little, he was confused about who this Hatch 22 guy is, where he came from, right? And Xanda breaks it to him that he's from the future, and he rips into her for messing with the frog. And of course, Black Panther is like, nah, you both have fought with your petty rivalries and stuff. So that was kind of cool. He kind of tears into him about, no, you guys did this. Now we're stuck dealing with it. And then they're kind of watching what's going on here. And then the Hatch 22 is under attack. So they're like, the future is hardly free of conflict. And I love this colorful art here. All the pew pew lasers and stuff shooting through there. And then we get what I remember for me is the eye from Big Trouble in Little China, right? It kind of looks like it. So this big alien thing is attacking Earth and Hatch 22, and just going at it, right? Just blasting them. And if you know a lot of Kirby art, this is pretty much true to form for him. These kind of crazy designs, wild designs, and stuff like that. He was very good at doing that stuff. And then we see this particular guy, right? Because he's still human, even though it's 6 million years in the future. We don't really get a designation for his particular name, just that he's from there. And he comes out and he's like, oh, dude, not on my watch. And he just comes out and blasts that master. that monster, right? Just crushes them. And it's like, wow, it's like a solar heat and just eliminates this huge, massive monster. And you're like, everybody's kind of watching this and they're like, yeah, that's even way more powerful than what he did to just the one henchman. And he goes, both of you saw the same thing I did. And he's talking about hydrogen bombs. And so Xanda and them are like, yeah, dude, we really got to do something about this. We have to take immediate steps. They're not quite sure to do. So they go back. And of course, now the guy's coming too because they never did anything. They didn't tie him up or they didn't put like a, I don't know, blindfold. I don't know if that would work. As something. They've just been standing around a little bit. And they found out that, well, he was just dreaming. And I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. And so they're still trying to figure out what they're going to do with this. And Mr. Little's like, if you struck him, Panther, he won't be inclined to mercy, but he won't spare you either, dude. So we got to get him tranquilized and stuff like that. And I was like, yeah, that'd be a pretty good idea. And they're coming up with the idea of the twin. They got to go find this twin frog, which I still don't know where they got that from. Well, this dude, Hatch 22, is waking up. And again, they're just still kind of standing around instead of like, I don't know, tying him up or putting his head in a bag or something. I don't know if they have a bag big enough. Right? I don't know. Try to do something. And they're like, well, Mr. Little always has an answer, right? So that, like I said before, I was trying to give you a warning. This dude always has something up his sleeve. You just gotta go with it, right? It's kind of like, oh, every time something's happening, they need to get out or fly out. He had the copter, all that kind of stuff, and we'll see more of it. So he's coming up with something here, and yet they're still watching this guy come to. And she's like, hit him again. I'm like, yeah, drop him, give him a good judo chop or something. And he's like, well, no, that's kind of just too brutal. I'm like, oh man, come on, dude. The dude's gonna blast you. You gotta knock him out again. So he won't do it. See, this is what I was talking about, his noble nature. He really takes the moral part of not risking hurting that guy because Black Panther knows how strong he is. But I was thinking, you kind of waited too long. So now what are you going to do? And because Xanda's like, yeah, do it anyway. He thinks he's going to make a pet out of you. But old Mr. Little, he saves the day here for the most part. Shoots him with a tranquilizer dart or something like that, right? And of course, it diffuses the thought process. So you just kind of got to go with it. It's fun. And you're like, oh, all right. Well, that makes sense. If he's always prepared for emergencies. Just pull that out of your drawer there. Oh, I just got this laying around. Shoot this guy. So Panther's like, yay, I didn't have to jack him up again. So congrats to you. And then he's like, well, we got about 24 hours before it wears off. And I'm like, so the physiology of people from 6 million years ago. But okay, we'll catch on to that later too. So they're like, yeah, man. So what you might not have known was since you were standing behind the guy, he could have like disintegrated you like he did the other guy. So Black Panther's just kind of getting a little fun out of him because he was standing right behind him when he shot him. He's like, yeah, you're kind of lucky there, bud. So anyway, they're just talking about what they want to do. Like I said, Xanda and Little, she really doesn't like him. She's always just taking shots at him, all the pop shots, right? And she's like, I wonder how you would have been if it had gotten to your senses. And he's like, Panther's like, hey, come on, man. Stop. It's enough. We got stuff to do here. And Little is bragging about every time something happens, I'm always prepared. And you're like, okay, what do you got up your sleeve now? How are they going to find King Solomon's mines? I mean, who even knows where it is? Probably this guy, right? And you're like, I'm curious. Let's go. Let's do it. So apparently, Mr. Little, he's got like a space rocket type something. And I'm like, dude, how rich is this guy? I mean, he's like uber rich. He's got helicopters and all this kind of stuff. His lab thing here is amazing anyway. And like they give a thing like, he's a fanatical collector with great resources. Yeah, I'd say so. So he calls it a multi-plane, a supersonic wonder. And so he has supersonic speed now too. But I like this rocket type thing, or he calls it a multi-plane. It's nice and shiny. And you get a little thing here in the background where you can see Hatch 22 is just laying up against the wall. I thought that was kind of funny, but it's little details like that you have to, enjoy when you read some comics that don't put the effort in, right? He didn't have to draw that. He didn't have to put the detail up behind the plane, but I had just noticed that Hatch 22 was just like, it's kind of laying there in a hump. All right, so they are going to try to find King Solomon's mines, right? And return. Well, the original plan was to return the frog instead of burying it somewhere safe. They were just going to put it in the burial chambers and just assume that it would be safe. Now they have to go back to find the second one. And yeah, I'm really going like really fast here, guys. I apologize. I like these comics, and so I'm just kind of speeding through. I forget. I gotta try to slow down a little bit so you guys can look at it while I'm talking. And if you want to put in the chat, slow down, man. No problem, no problem. Or if I'm doing okay. But there's a really good flow. JT brought it up last week too. Yes, Matthew got it. Action all the way. We'll get more of it too. And JT, one of the things he liked about the comics was it has a really good flow. That's because he doesn't delve off in too much unnecessary stuff that we ran into in Battlestar Galactica. Not very often there, but sometimes they get into like pages of trying to explain the same thing over and over. Like the fact that Black Panther was saying, I'm going to pull up the issue number 2. Like Black Panther was saying that, oh, look, the planet in the future, everybody lives underground. But he didn't go into all this big, huge explanation about why the planet had this, or solar flares or flooding or radiation and all that. He just said it and he moved on. You don't need all of that kind of stuff, right? So let me get issue number 3. Sorry, 3. I forgot we're 1 behind, but we're okay. And gotta go to StreamYard, add, then I gotta go back again and click. That should do it. Wow, I'm moving like way too fast. I might be done before Mark even gets here. Hopefully not, because I know I think he liked these. All right, everyone. So I guess we'll just move right on into it. I read some of the letters from Kirby. A few people were talking about how they loved it, and one guy didn't like it at all. He was going really high on the T'Challa being like a king and all stately and all this in the Jungle Action series. And he actually didn't even want Jack Kirby to do this anymore. And they answered him saying, well, that's a whole different thing, man. This is him doing a different type of thing. We like your criticism. We hope you continue to read. They were just being nice to the guy, but I was like, dang, that was pretty rough. But they put it right in there and they didn't hold back. And I like that they put some of the good letters and the bad letters too. But the guy was kind of a hole about it. So anyway. All right. So what do you think of the cover here? And there's a lot going on. I know JT Thought number one was a little bit busy, but number two was better. Uh, Again, this one is a lot of people. It shows all the characters, but it's just a continuation of the story as well, right? So without letting on too much, you get to see the King Solomon's tomb. So he's letting you know right from the cover, hey, they did make it. So that gets your attention from reading number two. If you look at the cover for number three, you're like, oh, okay, so they do get there. I'm interested. I'll buy it, right? Probably will anyway if you like number one and number two. All right. So then you get into the top box again. So Kirby's talking about, hey, if this hadn't happened and this hadn't happened, no, this was happening, uh, and you only had 24 hours to get the job done, it's murder, man. And I always thought when I read that, knowing when Hungry Boy came on and we talked about how comic books were made and stuff like that on one of my other streams with JT and a few other people, that back then Kirby was, I don't know about 77 or 76, but he was doing a lot of work. He was really on a lot of kind of content, a lot of material. And I always thought maybe this was kind of his way of saying, yeah, it's an impossible job done. It's murder, man. It's a race against time. And I was like, oh, I see what you did there, Kirby. That was really smart of you. If I'm wrong, then oh well. But it's kind of funny to look at it now, all these decades later, to see that. So they're in this plane, and Black Panther's a pilot now. They can fly now, right? So I'm like, okay, well, I mean, he's a smart guy. He's very, very intelligent, and knowing some of all the things he's done in the past, it wouldn't be unlikely that he doesn't know how to fly a plane. But who cares, right? They're getting the job done, and you're doing fine. So that they actually address it. You're doing fine, Pam. The controls of my multiplane represent a true test for the most able pilot. And he is a king's son must shoulder responsibilities. We've heard that thing, with great responsibilities. Yeah, so there you go. And so I like that when I saw it, I'm like, well, he flies planes. Well, they tell you that he can. So I'm like, cool. That's a good way of doing things, because luckily for me, I've been checked on many planes of advanced design. So mystery solved. Yeah, the artwork here is good. I think this was a double page one. I can't remember in the comic. I love how you can make this plane look shiny, even though it's silver, but the shading and the lines on it, it just makes it look like really, really like Silver Surfer type shiny type thing, right? And of course, Anda's in there taking pot shots again. Stop congratulating yourselves. We got to get the job done. And we don't have a lot of time, because they have Hatch 22 in the ship. And I'm like, hopefully they tied him up. I don't know. Put him in some kind of box or something. What's in the box? So yeah, and Mr. Little's like really, really nervous because that guy can do hydrogen bomb type damage, which we've seen already. And she's still harping on the fact, like, there's only one thing to do. We got to get rid of him. And she's like, dude, like the whole alien air kick his ass out in the space type thing, right? And I'm like, well, I mean, yeah, I guess, but Black Panther's not going to allow that. So, and they're arguing and stuff like that. They're always arguing. It's kind of funny. She calls them, you horrible little ant. It's funny. But anyway, they're on the way to King Solomon's mines, which I guess I totally missed on how they knew where it was. I guess Mr. Little, I missed that part too. I don't know. If anybody can help me with that, I can appreciate it. So they're flying to, where do they say? Well, Africa, yeah. And then they're heading for this big mountain. And they're like, we're going to crash. And Mr. Little's like, nah, we're good. And I was like, no, we're going to crash. No, we're good. And the look on Panther's face here is like, he really makes you think for just a second. I mean, we know they're not, but he does kind of make it look like they are for just a split second. And Panther's like, we're done for. And then there's a hole in the mountain, of course, right? So that's cool. So Little did know where the King Solomon's mines were the whole time. And they find this just massive, massive place inside this mountain, which is good because you got to, land the plane. And we get down here. And they're just kind of talking about, oh my God, this is King Solomon's burial chambers. Because remember, Black Panther didn't even believe that the place existed for at least for a while, until he, like I said, until he started seeing all these things. And they're like, look how huge this place is. Huge. Nick Weiser, huge. And he's trying to draw them really small here. I would have liked to have seen like a bigger chamber area right there. But we'll see how really cool some of the art is here later. And they're just talking about how big it was. It's like airport size, stuff like that. And then all of a sudden, wow, something blew up. You're like, what the heck? What happened? And we're like, what, did the plane blow up? And you're like, oh yeah, dude, almost kind of forgot. Hatch 22's been sitting in there and they didn't tie the dude up like I told them to. Or maybe they did, you just don't see it. But they didn't really try to secure this guy. They just left him laying around the whole time. I just thought that was odd. But they did shoot him, right, with the tranquilizer. And old boy said it was going to be like 24 hours. So I don't know about the time frame, but I'm like, tie that MFR up and put like a bag over his head or something, I don't know. But you got to do something. You can't just let him lay there. So Hatch 22 just blows up their plane. And they're like, uh-oh. All right. But then he's still kind of feeling a little woozy here for all my Scream fans out there. Hey, Dad, man. How you doing, dude? Hope your cold is doing better. You and the missus there. So Hatch is like, oh, yeah, I'm feeling kind of woozy. But he's still strong enough to blow up the whole freaking plane. And then I'm like, okay, see? Panther grabs Mr. Little, starts running. And because they still got to go try to find that other frog. But now boy's turned loose. And he's just wrecking the place, man. And we've seen what kind of mental power this guy has, that he's just ripping the floor. And this is a good dimension pane where you can see how small they are compared to the floor getting ripped up. I don't know about the orange there, but anyway. And they're going back on the fact that they've got to find that frog. They can't fight him. They got to find the second frog. Sorry. And they're like, let's go. Let's just try to find that thing. So there's like no telling what he'll do when he gets fully conscious. And of course, Santa takes another shot. Now she calls him a bungling gnat. She's always throwing shade on this dude. But I like it because it's at least consistent. And then they're like, well, where's the brass frog? And they're like, it was aboard the plane. And Mr. Little, if you know how these guys are, he's not going to leave that brass frog sitting on the plane, right? So yeah, he had it in his pocket. And of course, Xana gets all mad. Oh, you were going to keep it for yourself. And they start arguing again like they always do. But he's like, yeah, at least I kept it safe though, right? It could have been in the plane. But yeah, he was complaining about how don't mess with it. And here he is. He's like, oh, lifting it up and messing with it. And I'm like, dude, what's going to happen? Is there like another bad guy coming in? And he calls the dude a balloon head from the future. But they're taking off down the hallways and stuff like that. And it's a little odd because they don't really know where they're going. They're just kind of running from Hatch 22. And little Mr. Little's like, well, without my guidance, you won't slow down. And he's like, slow down, lest you lose me. And of course, she takes advantage of that again. She goes, well, that would be a happy thought. She's never ending with it. The jokes. They find the door, but they might have taken a little bit of a lesson on some Indiana Jones here, right? King Solomon's Mines probably has some booby traps laid out, right? At least I would have thought. Panther's not really thinking here. He just reaches out to open it. And I'm like, you really think it was just going to open? And he gets shocked, like really, really bad. And he's like, dude, foolish fellow. Yeah, there's going to be all kinds of stuff here, right? And he's like, high voltage. Yeah, man. If it wasn't for my suit here, I would have gotten fried. And they're like, you fools are wasting time. Sanders. And I can't help but think she just wants to get into there to collect all that stuff that's in the mine. So don't let her fool you. She's not really a good person, that. And then he's like, well, can you open it? And she's like, well, yeah. Like, okay, cool. So little audience license. She just waves her hands, but they explain it. It's like an invisible laser beam or electric eyes type hand motion thing. And she does some whoop-de-whoop-de-whoop. And there it goes. She opened it. And then, of course, they're like, well, they're showing a little bit of caution here. Sorry, lost my train of thought there a little bit. I got a little ahead of myself. And so Panther's like taking a sneak peek, which now he's showing a little bit more caution, but it doesn't really matter because booyah, this dude shows up. And I was like, yeah, kind of knew that was coming. What's going to be a good action comic without a guardian of the temple, right? I mean, it has to be there. You just don't know how they're going to pull it off. And so this was I think this was a whole page in the comic book. Nice design, nice shiny bad guy here. And he's like, "Rawr." And you can tell he's a pretty big guy, but I thought he was just like this huge monster, like 30, 40 feet tall. But maybe about 15 or 10. So Panther and him go right at it. He's trying to crush Panther and he dodges. And Panther's like, I'm going to put my cowl hood back on. And we're going to get down with the get down. And that's what he says. I'm going to put this dude down. And he's, I don't know what you are, friend. And he hits him. Pow. Nice. I always like the way, like I was saying before, I always like the shading. You're paying attention to detail. Like all the lines, if you see that shows Panther's muscles, even in his face right here. Oh, let me go down a little bit. Sorry. There on the YouTube side. And you can see like little details count. Panther's face here, he's like, oh, and he's got his eyes squinted. He's like, oh man. And you can see the action in his face, right? This dude just kind of nailed him a good one right through some concrete or whatever that is, wood or brick or whatever. But he gives right back. Now, meanwhile, you're like, I know what they're going to get ready to do, and they do it. They're going to just roll on down the hallway because they're trying to get to the good stuff and try to find the frog. Although Xanda, like I said, don't let them fool you. She wants to get rid of that guy and then collect. He says, that monstrous thing's unbeatable, Mr. Little. He calls it an Ogar, a mechanism designed to guard the tomb. I'm like, yeah, we get it, dude. We just saw that. Right? So they go down the hallway, or Little takes off on her. He's like, see you, I'm going. And now she calls him a little maggot. That's like what, the fourth, fifth shade she's thrown on him. Miserable and insufferable, something or something. Now he's a little maggot. But like I said, she's consistent. And oh, wait, we got to go back. So what's Hatch 22 been up to? He's like, yeah, well, Dan, I'm running. I ain't waiting with you, Xanda, because that old dude's going to be coming after us. And yeah, he was right. He's right there. He's not too far behind. And he's still a little bit woozy, Hatch there. And this is classic comic stuff where you continue to let the audience or the reader know what's kind of going on. There's a little thought bubble for Mr. Little, so that if you kind of forgot what's wrong with this guy, oh, he's still shaky from the effects. So that's just a little way of keeping the readers updated. But the Hatch 22 is kind of coming around, and he's even calling him names, you little animal. Little's trying to talk to the guy, but that ain't gonna work, man. So old boy takes a solar flame shot right on him and misses him. And yeah, so back to the fight of the Ogre and Panther. They're really going at it. It's good action, man. I mean, you can see the force of Panther hitting this dude right in the chest. And he's like, damn, he didn't even go down, man. So Panther's like, yeah, let me do some dipsy-do and put some UFC moves on this guy. Some judo, karate, all kinds of stuff, right? So he sneaks around him, gives him a good back of the leg kick. That was a good move, man. Drops this guy. Hey, have you reviewed Superman versus Muhammad Ali yet? No, we haven't. But if you remind me and stuff after this, I'd be more than happy to do it. You just remind me later on. So, yeah, so he drops him with a really cool back move under the leg, sweet leg kick. And then he calls him Mr. Big. But old boy wasn't down and out, so he just grabs him and just tosses him like a rag doll into the wall. Rawr. So it's a good fight scene. And the Ogre just rips out a whole pillar, and he's just a column. Sorry, yeah, rips out a whole stone column, and he's just gonna smash him with it. And then cutscene over here to Hatch chasing Mr. Little down the hallway. I don't know where Xanda is. I guess she got left way back there somewhere. And then Black Panther's like, oh no, I'm gonna get hit by the pillar. But Mr. Little, he's always got something up his sleeve, right? So you can kind of catch on what he's getting ready to do here. And whether you like this character or not, he saves Black Panther from getting smashed by the pillar and actually getting zapped, because that was Little's plan all along. And I was like, yeah, that was a good move, dude. I was impressed. I was very smart of him to do that. And again, these action scenes are really good. It's all the details, like the little pieces of that mechanical guy flying off, and the swishing stuff like that, and the lights coming out. So then they're like, oh, Panther's like, oh, geez, what happened to the Guardian dude? And he's like, well, my 1,001 chance, it paid off. And when I saw these feet here, I just started laughing, dude. I was like, oh no. I don't know what it was. Maybe you guys could catch on to my sense of humor there. But just seeing those 2 feet where the guy was standing there smoking. Only its smoldering boots attest to the potency of the force, which demolished the warrior. And I don't know what it was. I think, what was the movie? Tropic Thunder, where was it Nick Nolte, the character, he stepped on the landmine, and you guys remember Tropic Thunder, right? And all the pieces were there. I don't know. I guess I was thinking of. Anyway, I thought it was funny. But Hatch 22 is like, he calls them bothersome fleas. You won't escape me this time. It's just classic writing, right? I mean, I just love it. It's not over verbose, or however you want to call it. I can get my thesaurus out, guys, and just rattle off all kinds of stuff. But I think people who enjoy these older comics get what I'm saying. It's tailored for kids, but It's also tailored for adults as well, sort of for the most part, or older kids, teenagers, young adults, and even for older people, right? And I'm not talking about 40 years in the future from then. I'm talking about maybe even older comic people then would enjoy it, or at least hopefully, right? And then he's like, Panther's like, got any new ideas, Mr. Little? Which is kind of funny because, that's his thing. It's his MO, right? Coming up with something. Well, we can't die now. And I'm like, yeah, no crap, right? Not when we're so close. Yeah, well, that's not going to help. You better come up with something. And then Xanda pulls up this rock, but she's standing behind the guy. And I'm like, oh, she's going to get it here, right? I mean, I absolutely thought because he zapped her henchman from behind, so she should know better. He made fun of him, hoping that he would have gotten shot when Little was standing behind the guy. And she just finds this big green rock and is going to smash his big old skull. But I guess she wasn't paying attention to where she was standing. And Panther's like, no, don't do it. And she gets very lucky here. He shoots the rock instead of her. I thought for sure she was gonna get the ticket here. But it works out as it always does for the good guys, right? And it hits the wall. Instead, she kind of ducks down. And the wall opens up, and they're like, oh, hey, look. And we found the crypt. So that was a good way of getting in because they couldn't. I was a little confused because they were inside the chamber. So I thought originally that was the crypt, but I guess I was talking like the Indiana Jones stuff. It wouldn't have been that easy, right? But I guess if you defeat the ogre, all the stuff would have been there. But anyway, this is what they did. So it's cool. And now you can see all this stuff. And holy geez, look at the size of that diamond. I mean, what are you going to do with that thing? Anybody know? Maybe Galactus can walk around with that diamond. And of course, like I said, she jumps right on in, man. I told her she's all about the treasure. It's all here for the taking. And of course, even Little's in on it, like I told you. And he's like, Panther's like, forget your greed. We got a old Hatch 22 still standing here. But they don't care. Their greed is like, oh my God, look at this. Everything, diamonds, pearls, all this stuff. But Panther's like, have you gone mad? And they kind of have, really. They've gone gold mad, right? And of course, right on cue. Yeah, Jack was the best. Comics. Enjoyed the Don McGregor run. Yes, Matthew Pounder, thank you. That was the I guess you might have been listening when I talked about Jungle Action from number 5 on. I don't know if he did 1 through 4, but I had that run. And somebody earlier, and I don't mean to repeat myself, put a letter in there bringing that up that they don't like Jack's side of it, but they defended Jack in the letter saying, well, that's okay, but Jack's doing his own thing and we like the way it's going. Hope you can read it, right? But yeah, thank you. I'm pretty sure that's McGregor because you know your stuff, man. All you guys in the chat know your stuff. Yeah, and I regret not holding on to that run. But anyway, so there's another blast right behind him, just like Panther was saying, and he's like, let's make tracks, get out of here. And I'm like, well, I mean, where are you gonna go? So, but Panther shows his strength here. He grabs them both and just jumps up. And not a big deal for him. He is that strong, right? And all she can think of, Xanda, is that he's going to destroy all the stuff. Her greed is just set in now. She doesn't even care that the dude's shooting at her other than destroying all the gold, right? Or what? I mean, it's not just gold, though. I mean, it's all these insane stuff that King Solomon collected, like the brass frog. But Panther's like, hey, man, you need to focus. This guy's coming at us, right? We got to find that other frog. So they're kind of digging around, right? And you're like, well, this can't last too long. And this is what I was saying. They don't drag things out a lot. Kirby doesn't really get into being overly involved with a lot of things. It's one panel, they're looking around, and there you go, right? He moves on. The flow is really good for a because you remember, if this is a younger kid, the attention span's not really going to be there, and for us as well, right? Even older readers, you're kind of losing me. But he tries to avoid that kind of stuff when he's writing. And Little's like, oh, this is an impossible task. We'll never find it. And Panther's like, yo, dude, it's right behind you. So like, okay, here we go. Hey, Mark. Oh, geez. I didn't even see you, man.
Hey, what's up? Sorry, I'm so late. No, I've been here for a half hour. No, just kidding. Just kidding.
Oh,
No, I just got here. No, I just got here.
Yeah,
no, I know when you're streaming, especially when you're doing a show too, you sometimes you miss when people come backstage. There's a setting though, safety tip. You can tell it to ding if someone comes into the. I was only here for like 30 seconds. It wasn't working tonight. It wasn't working tonight for Loki either. So maybe it's a StreamYard thing.
Yeah, it's a StreamYard thing. I have the ding, and this is why I always use. I say this every week, right? Because of the comic thing, I can block you guys when I know everybody I invited has shown up. Yeah. Because without the ding, I have to move. You guys can't see this in StreamYard, but what you're saying is I float this over the StreamYard.
So you're over this. Yeah. You only have one monitor then, or?
No, I have two monitors. I have a StreamYard that looks just like what everybody's using at YouTube. J-Man showed me how to do this. So in my tabs, I'll have it pulled up where I put it in the StreamYard, pull it down.
Oh, yeah, you have it over the middle of StreamYard kind of thing, right?
Yeah, and so when I have several guests on, I can't see the chat if I'm waiting for somebody to come in. And that's what kind of happened with you. I barely.
No, I was just here. I was teasing, but yeah, no, that can happen. I've done that before. Yeah. What I do is I put the chat. I pop out the YouTube chat. I go to YouTube and I pop out the chat. And this is exciting stuff for everyone. But it's and I put cool. But I put the YouTube chat on the left side of my monitor. I don't know why I like it on the left, even though I'm a righty. And then I have the regular StreamYard window to the right, but just like a small little, so it's separate from StreamYard, but then you have the YouTube chat right there, so you can do chat in YouTube.
Yeah, so I have a separate laptop, so I get to the chat. So if you ever see me when I have my camera on, I'm always leaning over saying hail to people.
Yep. So I keep it in the monitor, but just on the left side of the monitor, just like as a strip, as another window. You do pop out chat, and then you put it on the left side of, or right, wherever you want it, but that way you can see the chat next to StreamYard. So you have the YouTube chat, and then you can do all the, you can do all the icons or whatever right in, or you can tag people
very
too.
Nice.
So
that's what I do when I stream. I'm actually scrolling on a different screen on my regular laptop of a tab, so that it scrolls there for everybody. Oh, sorry, I was scrolling while I was doing it. Scrolling.
That's all right. Yep.
Sorry,
scrolling. Yep.
Yep. So Mark, I kind of flew through that issue number 2, and we're fairly far through this one. They don't have page numbers, but Black Panther.
Starting issue number 3 now, right?
Yeah, we've gone through quite a bit of issue number 3, I think. They have the guy from the future, and they took him and the brass frog. They have to find the second brass frog in King Solomon's mines to send that dude back to the future.
In time, yep.
Yeah, in time. 6 million years. He's this dude right here, Hutch 22.
Ugly dude.
Yeah, and he has tremendous power of like solar heat ray visions that can destroy buildings and huge space monsters, vaporize people like it's nothing type stuff.
Yep.
And he's not too happy.
Yeah.
And he got brought there by accident.
Yeah, so, these books are all Kirby all the time too. So it's
yeah. And I'm glad you said
writing
that.
and yeah, I'm sure you said that too, but he's writing and as he said in the beginning, edited, written, and drawn by Mike Royer is the inker, but as opposed to FF, now there's a lot of controversy over how much of the FF he actually did write. our buddy Clobber Times would say, of course, it's mostly Jack Kirby.
Yeah,
and
definitely
creative side. But yeah, so this is Jack's show here. Yep.
Yeah, and I was touching on with everybody how that JT liked the flow of issue number 1. He doesn't go into too many details when it doesn't really pertain to exactly what he's talking about. Like the Earth in the future is really, really weird, and Panther says he lives underground, but he doesn't get into why. He skips it. There's no
right?
Yeah. There's no don't worry about it. That's what's going on, right? But anyway, they find King Solomon's mines, and they left this dude. He was tranquilized in the back, but they don't tie him up or do anything like that. He comes to. He's still a little groggy, and he's chasing them into the mines, and they had to fight kind of Indiana Jones type stuff. This big mechanical guy.
Okay.
But they used Hatch 22 to blast the mechanical guy. So now they got to go back and just deal with him. That's a quick synopsis.
Yep.
And actually,
Panther's a very powerful character. Yeah.
Yeah, and we're almost done. Sorry. I'm glad you made it.
No, sorry, it was so late. Yeah.
Yeah, and I
Loki was Claude came on to Loki stream, and then they were talking for well, it's fine, but end up staying longer. That show ended up going longer than it usually does. Yep.
Oh, no worries. But I was talking about the art, the details. There's a lot of little details when stuff gets exploded. Kirby likes to show little pieces flying around. You know what I mean? Pieces of something going through, not just the blast. Yep. Big pieces, a lot of pieces. If you look at Hatch 22's face right here and the steaming eyes, because he just blasted the mechanical guardian.
He took him out, right? Yep.
Took him out, right? But look at the detail in his head. Like he was like it had been straining, right?
Yep.
And I love the writing in the boxes. I try to go back and read them again when I'm doing this, because I miss a lot of really cool stuff that he puts in, and he really builds up the energy of the situation, right? Fully recovered and bent on vengeance, double exclamation point, right? And bolds the vengeance. He really pulls you in with these boxes. An ominous force generates in those large eyes. And, these lesser creatures must die for their defiance. It's pest control. So right. I was just telling people, whether you like Kirby or not, I love the way he writes. And it's not even the dialogue, it's just the dialogue box, right?
Well, his dialogue can be, I don't know, overdone sometimes. I don't know what the right word,
Yeah, overdone.
Overdone, but it's not that it's not good, but it can be. And of course, that's the style of the time, too. I mean, when was this comic out? 77, 76?
77.
Yep. So, so this is, it's back in the 70s, which wasn't that long ago. Phantom is here, but as I always joke.
Yeah. But, we need Fanty.
It's a different time, too. I mean, so, and you're a different medium, too. So you got to be, you don't have a lot of word space either, right? It's kind of like Twitter with 140 characters. You gotta tell the story quickly. Yeah.
Overly abuse. I'm an idiot. I can't. I had it in my mind a minute ago. Obtuse, obverse. Everybody knows what we're talking about. And I like how he can draw you in and then make jokes. So, were you in there when the lady character Zonda? She was always taking pot shots at this guy, Mr. Little. That's his name, right? There she is. Her name is Zonda. Do you know much about these characters?
I haven't read these. I read this, but as Tim was saying, in the 70s, which 70th century? So I'd gotten some of these comics when they first came out, actually, believe it or not. And this run went way up in value now, too. You could have bought this in the bargain bin for a long time. Maybe not issue number 1, but issue 7 is the one with the classic cover that everyone it's used on all the trade paperback. I think it's issue 7. Yeah, it's been long since
somebody popped in. Hey, JT Kirk.
Hey,
you made it.
Came back. Can you hear me?
Your internet was down.
Nice. Everybody,
Scotty fixed your power.
An ice storm,
apparently. So
you had an ice storm.
Well, we still will be having one for a while yet. Most of the schools are canceled for tomorrow. So
Snow day. Yeah,
yep.
so JT,
I don't know if anyway.
I know you've
Yeah.
been listening. Did you catch much of this? That what
I
Mark was
haven't been.
saying?
I have not been listening.
Ah,
Unfortunately,
Your
it's buffering
internet not
for me.
working.
It just came back. So when the whole neighborhood loses power, you know, you all get to share that cell phone bandwidth all at once, right? So
Yep.
yeah, definitely.
anyway,
Yeah, so
all
Mark
right.
was giving his take on when he had these. So keep going, Mark. It's good stuff because we're on the last page, everybody.
Your last
So
page.
if you think I'm stalling, I am. Okay, so for Matt, everybody in the chat, I blazed through that second issue, and I apologize. I went through that thing like 30 minutes because, like JT and I had said before, this is fun. You can easily blow through these, right? You know,
They're easy reads. They're not too dense. I know, and that's not insulting Kirby anyway, but they flow so well with the the action. It's always say when you when I read a comic book, it's like a movie in your mind. Eventually, you kind of put the frames together, right? You can't describe it, but that's how it ends up working for me. I don't know what it is for other people, but you kind of fill in the other frames, I guess, right?
yeah.
In some
And
ways, yeah.
JT had given you shout outs about you did make the call on Mr. Little wearing a bulletproof vest, by the way.
Oh,
For everybody in the
it
chat.
only made sense. It only made sense,
right? Well, you get 100% credit for getting it right. I knew it because we didn't get to issue number 2 last week, but you hadn't read them yet. So
right.
yes, you called it.
Yep.
But then he's got the super spy plane. He's got the supersonic semi something plane, and they flew all the way to Africa on it with to get to King Solomon's mines there, JT. And they brought old boy here and just left him in the back of the plane because he was tranquilized up, and he came to, and he wasn't happy.
Yep.
Have they messed around with the mechanical frog?
Well, they were going to because they were talking about how Xander had it. I mean, Mr. Little had it the whole time, and he lifts it up in the air, and I'm like, no, don't mess with it. But nothing happened. Yeah, so they didn't do that.
They crossed the frogs.
They crossed the frog streams. Oddly enough, JT, maybe you can help me in the chat that I brought up the fact that I don't know how they knew that there was a second frog. Panther just kind of made it up. As far as I know. If I missed it, I apologize. But they just kind of knew that they need 2 frogs, Mark.
Okay.
That's why they have to put the 2 frogs together right here to get him back. How Panther knew that? Just go with it, baby. You know what I'm saying? Just Kojak. Just go with it, baby.
Well, he knew he had to find. It's been a while since I read this, but he knew he had to find the other frog, right? At some point, right?
Yes, at some point is the key.
Yep.
I don't know where, but he would have known that.
Yeah, so
he's a smart guy,
frog,
right?
Yep. Well,
and the other thing about writing,
frog in time, right? Yeah.
Yeah, the other thing I like about Kirby's writing is when you're doing reviews, you're more apt to pay attention to certain things and then talk about them instead of just letting it go quicker when you're just reading them, right? So he was flying this supersonic plane, and I made comment to everybody in the chat, and I'm like, oh, dude, I know he's smart, but he flies supersonic planes? And it was kind of a setup because the next speech bubble right at the end of the panel, was him explaining that, yeah, I've flown a lot of planes. And I'm like, oh, burn you, Kirby, you burned me, dude.
You got me.
You got me. I'll admit it. Yeah, you burned me on that one, dude. But I like that you at least explained it. And 40, 50 years later, because I can't do maths, there's some jackass like me sitting here complaining that, how the hell did he learn how to fly all these planes? And you already knew I was going to say it, right?
Right.
But anyway, Mark said that it's Kirby being Kirby, and it's a lot of his attention to detail, right, JT? Like this guy Hatch 22's face here, all that detail and the smoking eyes and stuff like that.
I'd like the way the color's done too. I mean, we just came off the Battlestar Galactica run where they probably had roughly the same color palette and capabilities, but here it just looks so much brighter and used so much more effectively too. And I don't know if that's just because they had more time than the BSG folks did. There's a lot of different reasons that could be surrounding that, but you just look at these and so much more of it comes to life because of the way that a lot of the artwork is done.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I like it too. There's so much attention to detail. Like earlier, there's this huge panel, right, with all this stuff in the front. And you got old boy here, Hatch 20, a back shot of him. He didn't have to draw him in there. I was telling the chat, he said he didn't have to do that. And I was pointing it out to everybody. I didn't even see it when I read it earlier. I saw it tonight. He's just slumped up against the wall because he's tranked, right? And it's way in the back corner. And it's stuff like that, right, that makes it so good. He didn't have to put that in there. You know what I mean? But anyway, back to the story for everybody. Sorry, I stalled way too long this time.
That's all right.
I'll lose everybody on the last page. And so all of a sudden, this Patch 22, he gets zapped when he comes inside of the creature's two beams. You're like, oh. So if you guys missed it or not, they did find the second frog. And Panther puts them together, and we've done
but
it.
Is he about to kill Panther right there?
He's going to kill them all. He was going to kill them all.
We would have died like insects. So I guess that's why I'm reading it.
Yeah, this dude is pretty pissed about being drawn in from the future. He annihilated some henchmen. They had a dreaming session where when he was tranquilized, guys, that he dreamt of his future or where he was from, and he annihilated this huge space creature, just this massive, like moon-sized space creature. And old Xanda wanted him to throw him out of the plane, shoot him, all but Black Panther's moral code, Batman type stuff, right? He wouldn't let her do it. She's like, yay, okay, you saw that too, right? We need to throw him out. We got to do something. And I thought they were going to try to throw him out of the plane. But like I said, the child, he's not like that. Right. So it worked, guys. They found the second frog. Basically, that's it. I mean, it's pretty simple.
They got
Is Throg in this?
No, Brick Frog from Venture Brothers. Anybody know Brick Frog? I'm a Venture Brothers guy too. Hey, everybody, we should do that. God, I love that show, that Cowboy Bebop. But they did get lucky. But again, it's this writing, right? I could scroll down, but I don't want to do that to the people watching. They're in the chamber, and I'm saying like he doesn't get into. Well, JT, remember how you commented on some of the times in the original BSG we did? Mm-hmm. There's like 3 pages of the same thing.
Yes.
But it didn't.
That would get old super quick.
Yeah, but it didn't accomplish anything. When there was good things where 3 or 4 pages of action that moved forward, right?
Right.
Kirby, it looks like he tries very intently to avoid that because I guess he's just good at it, or he pays attention to not do it, right?
I think the pacing is set so that something different happens in every frame, and something moves the story forward in every frame. The issue that we had with BSG was they might have one action span 2 or 3 entire pages, and it wasn't like a grand illustration that went across, the binding or anything like that. No, it was just trying to stretch out 10 seconds of TV into 3 pages of a comic book. And here, every single frame on the page that you're showing appears to move something forward, which just helps in pacing so much so you don't get bored as the reader.
Yep.
Exactly. And I brought that up. These are supposed to be for kids, young adults, but adults too. And you can lose contact with you can lose people in all 3 of those age groups if you just can't push the action forward, right?
Yeah, there's always something happening on these panels, right? It's always something cool, there's no real static waste of time with Kirby. I mean, there's
No.
very rarely do you have a quote unquote boring panel.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I like how, like, a good comedian, he's always kept in mind these people's, the characters' personality traits, right? Which I did love about BSG and Starbuck, right? They stayed pretty much true to form with him until we got to 80 when they massacred Adama's character. But so this character Zonda, guys, right here, and Mr. Little, she hates him. He's got no love for her. In
Yeah.
fact, she tried to make mention at least 3 or 4 times that she wished he was dead. Right, pretty much. Right, the jacket. Yeah, to FKH 2005. We like our Starbuck. Don't screw with our characters. You can do them in a certain different way, but there's a little bit of leeway, right? You know.
Yep.
And they're like, oh my gosh, we only had seconds to spare. And flashing comments. This was way too close for comfort. That was kind of like a Robin Batman comment, right? Because if you think about it, T'Challa's moral code is he threw a gun away. He took it from the lady Xanda because she was going to shoot Hatch 22 in the head, right? Because he was down and she was going to take advantage of it. Because at that point, she was kind of being smart about it, really, right? To get rid of this guy because they saw what he could do. Because he is a man, really. He's just a 6 million year old man. He's human.
Then she was going to smash him behind with the rock in the few panels ago, too, right? And then
yeah,
she
was going to shoot him.
Eyes in the back of the head, yep.
Yeah, she was going to shoot him before. Oh, so you saw that part. You heard that part me talking about.
I scrolled through it very quickly to catch up, and I was like, oh, and I stopped.
I'll be honest with you. I told the chat that I thought that they were going to get rid of her right there because the henchman got fried from behind, right? Mr. Little.
Question on her: is she supposed to be an Amazonian woman?
Don't know,
because she has like an upper body like a linebacker, and
she's
I
built like a rugby.
If that was Kirby doing that because she's supposed to be 7 feet tall and break people in half, or
she's a I wouldn't want to. What did I make the comment on her playing rugby? I was jealous of her legs in issue 1.
Yes, you did say that.
I said I wish I had her legs when I was playing back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And so Black Panther stays true to form with guns and stuff, kind of like Batman. He threw the gun away when he took it from her, right? And then he wouldn't let her. I thought he was going to kick her out of the plane, but she was taking pop shots at him. She called him a little maggot. She called him the insufferable something else, an ant. She called him something else. I forget. She called him so many things. I forgot. So I like the it's like a good comedian. You keep those personalities in there, you keep the humor in there, and you tell the story that you're trying to tell, right? And you keep it all within the frame of, well, like we just said, keeping people interested and moving. Kind of like I'm failing it on the stream tonight, but you guys are here to kind of save me at the end.
Oh, come on.
Well, I mean, like I said, I blazed through that first one, the second issue, so fast. I was like, oh my God, I got to slow down. And
there's some wild art in this, though. If you just go back up, maybe to the top of the next page. Just go up. That one, right? That is so wild. Just all the stuff going on in there.
Yeah.
The amount of just detail and content in there is on a whole another level from what we had on either of those recent BSG runs that we just did.
Yeah, and what was the BSG runs came 5-6 years later, 80, 81, 79, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. And there we were having problems because they weren't drawing people's faces or, glaring emissions like that, or the ships were the most basic doodling they could do in 5 seconds without an editor even looking at it. Here, this is just nuts. How cool that is.
This is Marvel recognizing, like I said, whether you like the art style or not, they recognize his talent because he does he wrote the way he drew it, wrote it, And what else?
Mm-hmm.
What else?
Well, this is when he's coming back. Well, he didn't ink this one, but this is when he's coming back to Marvel. I believe he had left Marvel for 5 or 6 years.
Yes, he did.
Not remembering the exact date. So, but
now, could you help us with a little bit of the history on that? Back in this time frame, how many projects do you think he was working on?
Well, he's one of the most prolific people. I mean, in comic art in terms of number of pages.
Yeah, and I don't know if you guys. I'm going to go right to the top. I flew through that so it doesn't take forever, guys. He makes a comment here in the opening dialogue box. Suppose you took off in a plane with people you couldn't trust in search of a machine not yet invented. No man can do this. You don't have the time, and if that doesn't sound horrifying enough, suppose you only had 24 hours to get the impossible job done. It's murder, man. It's a race against time. Now, I had mentioned this before you guys came on. I was like, I wonder if Jack was making reference to all the work he had to do and then came up with the idea of tying it right into this comic and then wondering if anybody caught on.
Yeah, so what Kirby's history I have in front of me, so I'm reading, but he left Marvel in the early 70s, and then he went to DC from 71 to 75, did the New Gods, and then he came back to Marvel in 76 to 78. So he worked for Marvel. He did Captain America, The Eternals, then he did 2001 Space Odyssey, almost did The Prisoner, and then Black Panther, which you're reading now, Machine Man and Devil Dinosaur.
That's right. I forgot. And how about the Demon?
I don't know what, and they said he Silver Surfer, the Ultimate Cosmic Experience in 1978 was considered Marvel's first graphic novel, part of the Fireside books. Then he was still pissed off at Marvel the way they treated him. So then he went to work for Hanna-Barbera. That's when he did Thundar the Barbarian. And
okay.
And the new Fantastic Four series. Yep. So when they worked together there. So then he didn't. I don't think he didn't come back to Marvel. He did some covers, I think, maybe for Marvel later in life, but he died in 94, I believe. Yep.
Yeah. Also, that there was a bad letter in issue 2, JT, of a guy, and Mark, we started to pay more of attention not to the Stanley soapbox, but Kirby apparently is also doing his kind of little bit of a letter thing. It doesn't show up on Read All My Comics, and I'm not going to take these comics in and out because I almost did Jack Up #2 today.
Yeah,
and this is my second time having this run. Yeah, so I'm leaving them in there. That's where, and I'm not pushing the stream that I did. Well, I mean, not the one on JT. We went back and I made a small video on the letter that Kirby wrote. Did you catch that, Mark? Talking about superheroes need to stay true to form or they lose.
I read that when you put it. Yeah, I read that. Yep. Which comic was that in? Or
#1.
Oh, it was the #1 one. Okay.
Yeah, it's a #1. And then this is a short video that I have. So I guess I am plugging it, but it's part of what we're doing here. So somebody wrote a letter, very long letter, talking about they like the Don McGregor and Matthew Pounder. Thank you for remembering his name. He did the Jungle Action run, Mark. Do you remember that one?
I don't remember that one. No.
Yeah, Jungle Action, I think, preceded this. If I got my dates right, I used to have that one. That's my horror story where I had the tape latch on to the front issue of issue #5, which is the first introduction of Black Panther and the Jungle Action run.
Okay.
And Matthew Pounder remembered it was Don McGregor. And thank you for saying it's more fun. That's the famous one where he fights the Klan. That run, do you remember now?
Okay.
Yeah, and he goes into the city, and I think some of them as well. But yeah, I had tape, and it went on for issue #5 and ripped a big chunk of that out. But this guy wrote a letter, and he doesn't like Kirby at all. I was like, why? But he explains himself. He writes like paragraph. You know what? I might try to just because we're talking
Stan
now.
Himself writing that.
Yeah. Well, Stan, I think, was begging Mark. Maybe you can testify, and God rest Cloudy for it. I wish he was here for these. He could tell you whether or not Stan was begging for old Jack to come back, or if Jack was wanting to come back and do this run.
Well, I think he probably, he wanted to go back to the characters that he loves. So, it's not a surprise that he would come back. And you always think you're going to reconcile and things will be different second time around, right?
Yeah, well,
so they had stolen Jack Kirby's art, had big controversy, getting all his artwork back. A lot of it been given away and stolen, and now no one really cared that much about the original art, and now it's worth hundreds of thousands of dollars or more.
Yeah.
Kirby's would be worth millions. So, and the artists actually own that artwork. That was part of the gig. They didn't own the characters. Excuse me, I'm fighting a cold here, but they did own the those drawings were their property. So those were all supposed to be returned to them. So they technically they couldn't sell it, but that was part of the gig. So and Cloudburn Times had talked about that a lot on his shows. But I finally did reach an agreement. He did get some of his art back, but Kirby's grandson, was his son or grandson, was on Twitter for a while. You wonder sometimes things don't show up in your feed, but he kept posting like when people are selling stuff, like, how did you get this? But I mean, the problem is he basically created most of the Marvel universe that they're making billions of dollars off of. They did reach an agreement, but how much are they getting, compared to how much money they've made off of all these characters? And, Stan always made a big deal about Stan, but not Jack, which is not fair either. So
it's not fair either. And so this guy, it's in issue number 3, because I forgot. And if I got the dates wrong, for everybody, I think this is a every other month issue, because number 2 came out in March, and I'm pretty sure 1 came out in January. That's why I think he wrote that letter in 76. And number 3, I went ahead and pulled these out, so I'm not trying not to touch them too much. But Raquel, wear gloves, Dave.
Right.
Number 3 is in May, so yeah, it's every other month these are coming out. But it was issue number 3 because I was an issue behind, right? They don't get the letters until the letter issue after. Anyway, the guy goes in on Jack about staying true to form, and he addresses that letter that I pulled up and talked about, which I think is great. But this guy's being like an uber purist, right, Mark? He's like, oh, T'Challa's a king, and you're the one that changed his character. And it was like, I thought it was pretty cool of Marvel to put the letter in there, because then they defended him, right? They're like, sorry about that. You have your opinion, we have ours, Jack. And the guy says, I want Jack gone. Can you get rid of him? Kind of thing, And they're like, nope. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, we all are pretty much purists. I just said it, right? I don't want to be a hypocrite on my own stream. Don't screw with Starbuck. Don't screw with Adama. But I also said you can go off on different ways, but that's the original character. And this guy's like mad that he's not kingly enough. And I'm like, well, he can't go on these grand adventures, dude, and sit his ass on a throne back at Wakanda. He's in a costume. Yep. He's holding his moral values. So I kind of wanted to write this dude a letter back. It's like he holds all his moral values. He didn't sucker punch that Hatch 22, even though he probably should have. He already knocked him out once, right? Maybe you guys missed that. He did push-ups to distract him, by the way. It was hilarious. And then he's like, the guy's like, what are you doing? So he cracked him, knocked him out. And old Xander's like, knock him out again. He's like, no, it's too brutal. And then he throws the gun away. So he's holding the moral high ground. Some people, it's like, yeah, you can go off on characters. JT and I have done it, right? Issue 14, right. BSG.
Yeah.
But it was very well deserved, and everybody in the chat agreed.
Well, it was boxy, so we might be bringing fighting words in here with Mark, but Yeah.
Well,
Boxy deserved the thrashing in that one.
I don't think Mark liked the way they did issue 14 either, when you have metal and fur melting in radiation and Boxy gets to just lay in bed and eat soup and he's perfectly fine. So yeah,
Right.
I don't think Mark appreciate that. That's kind of insulting. But anyway, I thought bring in the good and the bad, and then there's a couple other letters who absolutely love it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I mean, Kirby's an acquired taste for a lot of people too. I mean, I originally didn't like his art style in the beginning when it takes a while to get used to, I have to say too. So then you can see the creativity of it, but it's kind of jarring when if you go into it so different than anything else. Some people don't like Kirby's art too. So I mean, you're allowed to. Don't tell anyone, but
Yeah.
but it's
Yeah.
it's it's an acquired taste to some people. So, but then when you get into it and you read his language, you get into his language, then
well, the art
can follow it a
especially,
lot better.
like you said, can really hit you. His costume designs, his character designs, ships, the buildings, they're all really different, right? But I wanted to ask you here, Matthew Powder said, reminded him of Oberon. I was thinking of Orion. Who's Oberon, Mark?
Oberon from Kirby from Fourth World.
So that's Orion's dad, or is that the world? The world is called Oberon.
Trying to remember now. Yeah.
Well, Oberon is from Midsummer Night's Dream, right?
Well,
I think that's also a Fourth World character.
It's a Fourth World character.
Okay.
I can't remember if that's Orion's.
The Fourth World, really cool stuff. Yeah.
Here, I'll show you for JT in the chat what we're talking about here. Let me. Ooh, I almost deleted myself there. I almost removed myself from the screen. Sorry.
Don't do that. Yeah.
Shouldn't say things like that, right? But that, even though that's what it's called.
He's Mr. Miracle's assistant.
Yeah. So for everybody in chat, this is bonus content, everybody. Hope you enjoy it. I guess I can go to one. That's Orion.
Oh,
I love that
okay.
series. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this is Fourth World, and there's Dark Side, right? Dark Seed. Yeah, whatever. I love that Dark Side shot, man, in Orion. See his little grumpy face.
Mr. Miracle's little friend.
Yeah, Mr. Miracle's little friend there.
Yeah.
So I got introduced to Fourth World, and I haven't gone back. I'll be honest, I don't have it. I haven't read it. I went and bought Inhumans. I was talking to Mark about it. We'll talk about Inhumans here tonight because we're talking about Fourth World and Kirby's art, right? I love this Dark Side, man. It's just good to me. And I like the little mouth part with the helmet. It kind of just shows he's like, Orion. That's Orion, right? Yeah, that's Orion. So I don't know if you've seen this, Mark. This one.
Oh yeah, I've seen that trade. Yeah, I might have. I've probably read parts of that.
Yeah, it's just this is a gallery format.
Oh, that's a gallery. Okay,
it's a gallery format of the characters. There's Darkseid's kid. What's his name? Help me out here, Mark.
Oh, that's what was Darkseid's kid?
I draw. Sometimes I can get all of these, and then sometimes I can't get any of them. But I know it's Darkseid's kid, right? It's like Inhumans. Blastar showed up. I know who Blastar is, right? From Fantastic Four.
Oh, of course, yeah. Well,
and there's the High Father.
Yeah.
And
who was like a Great Darkness Saga.
All right, I can't remember her name, but that's one of the Darkseid. She's a pretty badass character from.
Yeah.
That's Big Barda.
So.
Barda.
She's whoever's on the other side too. The other one, right there too.
Is that Big Barda? She looks young.
Or is that
I'm mixing up? Yeah. They don't. Maybe they do a credits here in the back, but you can see the character designs and stuff like that. What was one of the other really crazy good ones? Oh, you'll like this one, JT.
Yeah, that's Big Barda.
Oh,
yeah,
there
Big
we go.
Barda, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, the last, yeah.
Yeah.
Big
Oh,
Barda,
sure.
yeah.
She's young there. Now, this
Yeah,
is
Big
Miracle
Barda.
Man. And that's Miracle Man, right? Or no?
She's based on Lainey Kazan
Ah,
from what appeared in Playboy.
nice. But yeah, I'm trying to get a good building design. These are more character features that are. But anyway, you guys get you guys have seen it, like the vehicles and the costumes, especially the buildings and the background designs.
Mm-hmm.
You either like it or you might not like it, I guess. But I think it's cool. So,
I was going to say, are the rest of us still there?
yeah, we're still here. We're still here. But anyway, that's 2 and 3. Any other takes on the Kirby or comments, Mark? Anything?
Well, just brilliant stuff. I mean, just read the Fourth World, or just if you haven't read Kirby, enough of Kirby, go back and do it. I mean, it's just if you want to see some great comics and read some great comics, go do it. Yeah, the Great Darkness Saga. I know that was one of Clobberin' Tom's favorite series. So that's if you love Darkseid, that's great. Even though it's not penciled by Kirby, but Kirby creation. So great story. But you go read the first 102 or 3 issues of FF. This Black Panther run.
I'll just pull those out. I've got them sitting right here, Mark.
Well, nowadays there's
God, I wish
there's digitally. There's
yeah.
I was making a joke on the stream last night. Let me pull out my Amazing Fantasy 15.
Yeah, right. And when I say you better not open that damn thing, you better not even think about opening that up.
Yeah. But it's,
so Tim's got this right. It's Kalibak, is Darkseid's son. I mean, they're just enjoyable. The flow's great. The art's great. I didn't even see too many faux pas. That JT found like only one faux pas with the heels. Remember that in issue 1? It reminded me of the Alien Queen from Aliens. She got those high heel ankles. But I was like, yeah, you barely even notice it sometimes, but not too many mistakes, right? And I think what you said, JT, about time and effort, right? And Mark, yes. I think you can attest to the fact that whether or not Jack had a lot of time to get things done, these comics on this run are coming out every other month.
He worked fast too. No, he would do 15 plus pages a week. So
wow, that's amazing, huh, JT?
Prolific artist.
Yeah.
So Jack was a machine, man, and he got it done. But he cared too. Like we could tell again on some of the BSG issues, not all of them, even though we figured out that it was just a couple dudes trying to get some issues done, and they were drinking and smoking and having a good time, and they didn't really care, but it turned out to be kind of a funny issue or two, right? But you could tell, like, some of the panels are like, JT said, yeah, Dave, I don't think they really gave a frack on that one. Right? Yeah, I said that panel right there.
Yeah, some of that art was Feldergarb.
It was Feldergarb. And then you got an amazing headshot of them in the Viper and the helmet with Jolly, which 2 issues before was one of the worst headshots you've ever seen. The Orange Flame guy and a couple other ones come to mind, right, JT?
Yeah.
And we always tried to think hard about it, that how is that like one panel to the next, Mark, could be so widely different, right?
Yep.
And I'm like, I can't explain it, man. I don't know. I don't know. It's editing. Was that Jim Shooter back in the day, right? I don't know.
Probably, it was Jim Shooter. Yep.
It's just clear to me they're giving him at least a month to put one issue out, right? Every other month. And it's almost like he has time to go back and fix anything messed up that we would have never known, right?
Yep.
time to edit it because he's doing three of the things on his own. The edit, I mean, is he doing the editing too? He's doing the writing and the drawing.
Yeah, he's doing everything on this. Yeah, he's doing everything on this one. Yeah,
and he's editing, which I think now
Archie Goodwin is set. He's overseeing it too. But he's Jack Kirby. It's like Babe Ruth. It's like you could tell Babe Ruth what to do. I mean,
well, I'm just trying to evaluate how important that it was that he had control over that he could write it. Well, the artwork is one thing, right? But you can write it and edit it at the same time, and you can see, JT, the difference and how the flow, how everything just goes through, right?
Well, he probably wrote most of the FF anyway when you think about it. So no one's ever shown an FF script that Jack Kirby's ever written. So, he would go over and maybe put word balloons. And Jack Kirby, there's some panels you could see where he had word balloons, and Jack would change some of the words, but he even did the writing on some of the panels too. And then so. But we've never asked Mike. I said, "Is there a Jack Kirby script out there?" Anyone can see a script, and then there was a synopsis they found. But everyone said it was made up after the fact because Kirby had created Challenges of the Unknown, which is the next iteration is the FF, and it's a Jack Kirby creation. Pretty, Jack. Stan might have said, "Oh well, let's do a family story," and then Jack, probably came up with they said, "Oh, I've got these Challenges of the Unknown. Let's modify them." So Stan did come up with the Spider-Man idea, but Ditko came up with the costume and everything else and how the character works. So it's like who created Spider-Man? I mean, Jack did come up with the idea, but maybe it was not successful without Steve Ditko, right? Without fleshing everything out.
Oh yeah, and then of course it fell into the hands of Stan Lee, right? He made it famous, I guess, right?
Yeah. Oh, and Tim had said this about Calabac.
Calabac. Calabac is his son. Yep. So, all right, well, guys, I wish I had drawn it out a little bit longer earlier. Get you in here quicker.
Oh, no, you're fine.
All right.
The one thing on this is we're doing 2 comics next week as well, right?
Yeah, we're going to try to stick to the 2 comic format. I had an odd feeling breaking out the number 1 was going to take a long time, and it was great. It worked out fine. So we'll go with 4 and 5, and if we don't get to 5, we'll just push it to next week. The week after, I mean. Yeah. So what did you have a question about which ones or?
Oh no, I can find which ones are 4 and 5. Just want to make
thank you,
sure
Matthew.
we were plowing ahead.
Thank you, Matthew Pounder. I had a lot on my mind earlier, Matthew. So I was kind of not really focused too much on that. I was trying my best on that first issue. I got better, I think, at the second one. How I caught myself saying a lot. I wrote a note.
Oh, we all it up a lot. Yep.
But when you go back and you watch yourself, I even wrote a note here on a piece of paper towel. Stop saying when streaming.
Yeah, no. Yep.
And I didn't.
Hey, we're not professionals here. We're only YouTubers. Yep.
Yeah. It's like, well, you get really relaxed, and you don't realize you're even talking to people live. That the whole world, would
you don't realize it too, 1 million
people. Yeah, you don't realize.
Just kidding. No, I'm sure I do a lot of things that you don't catch it when you're doing it. Yeah.
Dave, you're not bad with I had a university professor in grad school that had every 4th or 5th word was
Oh wow. That's bad.
You had to sit there for a 3-hour lecture with that. Yeah, that was rough. It was really rough.
Drove you crazy. Yep.
Oh yes.
Yep.
One time I tried to count the and I gave up after 20 minutes. It was that bad.
You weren't even paying attention to the content of the class. You were just, I'm just going to sit here and count. Yeah. I remember having one class, because I just did it again. So at least I'm catching it, that it was a FBI teacher. Yeah, he was teaching some field lessons or how to investigation class. Sorry, I had another FBI type class back in the day. And when I was sitting there, I was surrounded by people that were all on their laptops. Now, this was a raised kind of cathedral type class, right? So it went up about 40 rows, or I don't know, not one of those massive, not those like University of Notre Dame type or whatever, big. It was a small, thinner one, but it went up about 30, 40 rows. And I moved I was in the middle. I moved to the front, right where, 10 feet away from the teacher while he's standing there talking, surrounded by laptops. I moved all the way kind of to the back. And somebody else, one dude, like 2 chairs over, kind of mentioned it. And all you could hear is this. Can you guys hear that?
Yeah. The whole time, yeah.
And I look over and one girl, she's shopping or she's emailing, and then one dude's emailing, one dude's on, I don't know, Facebook, and then you got one who's actually taking notes, but they're typing it in. Mm-hmm. I'm like, God, I'm going nuts here. I went and said something to the dude, but I had a B plan, or I had to talk to another professor because they wouldn't allow any laptops in their class. And the guy was nice. He sat down with me. He said, I just got to bring up a problem. And he's like, well, can you move? I said, I've moved 3 times, man. He goes, well, I know one lady was working on something for me. I was like, yeah, I don't care. I can't sit in here, man. And I'm not dropping the class. You got to tell these people. And he's like, well, what can I do? And I was shocked. He asked me. And I was very like, well, I mean, I'm not trying to disparage you, but my other teacher, he doesn't even allow it. He's like, He didn't do that, but I think he kind of was like, hey, pay attention. He was saying that kind of thing more often.
Yeah.
Right. So, but Fanty's putting some Spider-Man contributions in there. I don't know if you guys are reading those.
Hail to Phantom.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hail
always.
Fanty outside.
Always a pleasure to join the crew with everybody else. And always good takes, always good comments.
So, Mark, if you were to rank this Black Panther run over some of the others, how would you rate this one in terms of your personal ranking?
I do like, it's not heresy. I do like some of the later ones that are more modern. I don't want to say better, but there's some really great Panther runs after this. I mean, this is the original take on the character, then obviously the FF, but as you get older, it's I don't want to say time travel, but it's a product of its era. It's still great, but then they came out with a Black Panther miniseries in the 80s, and that was really good too. I really enjoyed that. So and then I'm looking now here too. What was the next series?
I think Mark, I cut you off. Is that the one where him and Storm get married, or is this later even than that?
I'm trying to remember now.
So I think there's a run before that.
I thought that was in the X-Men where don't they get married in the X-Men, or was it in the Black Panther series?
Yeah, I think there was a different run as well. I think I know which one you're talking
about. She's when they're married, she's in one of the Panther runs later, quite a bit, Storm. But I can't remember if they got married in the series or you get a lot of.
There was a big marriage in one of the runs. Yeah,
comics jumbled up together. But Priest and Texter, that was 98. So it was a long time in between when when you had Black Panther series, and that's what the new stuff is based on. With Everett Ross and Zuri. So that's the Priest and Texter, and I really enjoyed that run. They didn't translate it as well into the MCU, unfortunately, but Everett Ross is his handler. There's a lot of good comedy in that series, and he's like his basically like a handler. So he's your eyes into that world. So that's when they introduced I can never say the Milai Dorai. How do you say the women warriors?
Oh,
and the
Malajai, something like that.
Malajai.
Close enough. We'll go with it. We know what
I can never say
about.
The damn name. Yeah, but it's not. I really enjoyed that. Spanish. That run was really good. But Kirby's the classic intro to the character. And then crazy, and what was really nuts too, at one point they had a cop in Brooklyn became the Black Panther for a bunch of issues too. I think in volume 4. I think I was like, "What are you doing?" It's like,
that's where they went into the city, and the guy and the younger kid, and his cousin or uncle or something, and
it was just a cop in Brooklyn became the or Queens or something became the Black Panther. It was like, what are you doing? I mean, not that it was terrible. The stories weren't bad, but I'm like, this is not Black Panther. But you can find these on digitally pretty easily. You can buy the trade paperback. So
I mean, I do read all comics.com, and there's a couple other sites out there, and shout out to J-Man for that. I've got like 50 tabs pulled up. Mark, you want to plug your wrench, right? Can you plug your own channel here?
Oh, sure.
Put it in.
I shall put it in. Yep. But and that's when Shuri becomes Black Panther. Black Panther disappears or quote unquote dies, but it's not for a long time that she's Black Panther. So they screw up all the stories when they're taking them, converting them into the MCU, because that Black Panther movie was not good. Yeah.
The Shuri one or the Boseman?
Well, all of them. I never liked the Black Panther.
I was talking about T'Challa the other day on the stream that I had to go back and watch. I didn't really like the first Black Panther that much, but I kind of liked it a little bit better the second time, but not. I didn't go out and buy it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But
it almost sounds more like a Pink Panther story than a Black Panther story.
Well, I didn't watch the one with the shirt. I didn't go watch that movie. So
I stopped watching it. Yeah.
Oh, you didn't even finish it?
I couldn't finish it when Namor came out. I couldn't.
Namor.
Oh, so
that's
bad.
right. Shuri and Namor were in the same one. That's how much I care. Yeah, I remember when it was getting ripped to shreds about Namor, and people were like, "Why can't he be like that?" Because he's not that stupid. I mean, so what? I mean, it doesn't even make any damn sense.
Yeah.
But I said, I'm not even going to give this a shot, man. Not even, I'm good. I'm good, And so I won't keep you guys too much longer, but I know you had, I saw you kind of tweet something about the new FF, Mark.
Yep. Yeah, I've got to do a video on that.
Okay, well, save it for your video.
No,
that's a great segue. Go ahead and put your.
Well, my channel's in there. I'm sure everyone here has got to be sub, but
I'm pretty sure everybody here is.
I did like the teaser, just briefly. I did like the way Ben looked, but until you get to know the story, like you can't. It's a teaser. You get 30 seconds of action, and I really don't want to know much about the movie anyway. Before it comes out, because it's always better to be, left in the dark, I think. But Ben's design looks pretty good. Pedro Pascal does not.
Well,
look like Richards.
You like the sculpt, right? I don't know if he's. Yeah. I guess when I only looked at it for just a second, so I might go back on it. Don't hold me and clip this. Try to burn me later, but I'm just saying. I'm just.
Oh, I will.
I know.
Don't worry, Dave.
I'm just joking. I took credence to what you said about the sculpt because I'm not that great on it. And if Cobby and you really would know that better than most people, I guess. But I thought he could be bigger, maybe just a little bit bigger.
Yeah, it could be a little bit. But Ben is not not over. I mean, we got Phantom in the house, but I don't think Ben is.
He's not taller, but he's just.
Is a 6 feet one, I think.
He's not taller than Doctor. Oh, jeez, good God, what's his name? Ben's not taller than Johnny.
Well, a lot of times he's drawn shorter than Stretch too. It depends on.
But he's built like a bowling ball, then, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I mean, I'll give it a
6
shot.
feet tall, 100. 6 feet tall. There's one answer. 500 pounds. So he's slightly shorter than Mr. Fantastic 6'1", but he's of course very bulky. Then another thing said. sometimes they make him tall. It changes, but he wasn't supposed to be this gargantuan. He was more, a monster, not so much, a massive, guy, big guy, but not not that big. So
I'm going to totally leave it up to you,
Thor.
Mark, whether we go spending money on it. So no pressure.
But I mean, I don't mind him, but yeah, he should be a little bit. He should look a little taller too. Look at Wolverine now was, Hugh Jackman. That was always they lost that aspect of Wolverine as being the runt, like the berserker, the Wolverine. That's why his name is, because he's so small but terrifying. The Wolverine's you don't want to mess with the Wolverine in the wild, right? So it's small but deadly.
No, you don't want to do
so
that.
They lost that whole aspect of the character. It doesn't. That's why it was so funny when they had the 5'1" tall Wolverine in the bar in the new movie. But that's you can make him 5'6" or something.
Well, what was it? The town fight toward the end when they're doing the walk. The guys are walking around the corner, and there's a store in the background called Lifefield's Feet or something. What was the name? Excuse me. They were taking a crack at Lifefield's shoes.
Oh, drawing the feet. Yeah, drawing the feet. Yep.
And I saw that in the theater. I was like, "Oh no, that's funny, dude."
Right?
Yeah.
I think with Marvel Comics, they have him 6 feet tall, 500 pounds. Yep.
Yeah, Thing was always smaller than the Hulk. He just has to have that. Even if he's shorter, he still has to have that bowling ball look. And I'm thinking of the other bad guy in X-Men. They just draw him absolutely massive. The huge one in Deadpool. Who's the bad guy who can just run over everybody? See how bad
Juggernaut?
Juggernaut. Jesus, yeah.
Juggernaut, yeah.
Yeah, that was always funny. The banter between Deadpool and Juggernaut. I'm gonna rip you out. But anyway,
how tall do they have the Hulk now? Does the Hulk like 7 feet? I mean, the Hulk should be a lot taller, but like I would always picture the Hulk would be 7'4".
Yeah, he's got to be at least 7.
I pictured him closer to 9 feet. Personally, I know that sounds weird, but I just pictured him too tall to go through your average doorway.
Yeah,
or like his head would hit the ceiling in most people's houses with an 8-foot ceiling.
Yeah, I mean he's never going to be able to walk through any doors once he's got to be outside, right? Or he's just going to smash everything. But Juggernaut is constantly in that size frame,
Yeah.
But, all right, guys, let's wrap it on up. Any famous last words in the chat, or you guys got anything else?
Well, just Phantom's right too. He says, yeah, they should have had Chickless voice, but hopefully they'll fix his voice in post because he needs to sound a little gravelly or a little bit more rocky, shall we say?
Yeah, well, kind of.
It's got to have a lower voice. The actor's voice is too high.
Really? Yeah, that's right.
I like the actor. He's a good actor in the Bear. And he's got that. He does have that personality, but it's his voice is just a little too. Doesn't make sense coming out of that that body. Yep.
No. All right, JT. Anything else? What you got going on? Well, Mark, what do you got going on? You Friday night Fortnite and Sunday night Victory?
No, Friday night Fortnite because we're celebrating my wife's birthday again with the kids coming into town.
Oh, okay.
So, no Friday night Fortnite, unfortunately, which is horrible to say, but we'll be back for Sunday night.
Especially since I fell asleep before last week's. At least I didn't fall asleep on stream. We've had that before, folks.
Right?
I had good fun.
Ouch.
With that.
Ouch. Yep.
That's funny. I've been tired on streams before. I'm like, I gotta go.
Well, how many people have you had that happen on you? It's at least 2, right? Because Dadman fell asleep.
Dadman fell asleep.
On
yep.
your stream before.
I think it was not to throw anyone under the bus, but I think it was. Was it who was it playing Fortnite? Was it Oh God, I'm trying to remember who it was, but yeah, someone else fell asleep. But Dadman, I could tell he was drifting, and he started running into walls. Like, just go to sleep. He was like hitting the wall. Like, go to bed. It's okay. I don't feel bad. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, playing on a Friday night's a lot of fun, but
Yeah.
sometimes you just don't
We're
have
late.
the gas in you
Yeah.
to do it.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I guess JT, you're doing Saturday Star Trek? With
Yeah.
Teague?
But tomorrow I'm actually going to Dadman pulled an audible and we'll be doing some sports ball talk tomorrow night.
Okay, cool.
So yeah. So I don't think we're quite to rugby yet in doing the Six Nations thing, but we will be, of course, talking professional football, and we'll be talking some of the draft portal and a lot of that interesting stuff. And we will get into NCAA basketball as we're getting close to March Madness here. So he's an SEC guy. I'm a Big Ten guy. We'll just pretend that the ACC doesn't exist and move right along. But yeah, so it should be a good time tomorrow night with that. And then Saturday, I will be on with the great Admiral Teague on Saving Star Trek. We'll be covering the next episode in season 2 of Enterprise. And I'm trying to remember the name of it, but I cannot. It's the one after Full Stop. So
I can barely remember any names of episodes and stuff like that. I just remember characters like Mud, Salt Vampire, stuff like that. Gord, Mark and Clavi and Teague and a few other people are experts at that. Just people in the chat can rail off episode names like it's nothing.
This one is A Night in Sickbay with Captain Archer's Beagle. So
Orthos.
Yes. So I know John the Beagle Dad is not going to miss that for anything. But it should be a good one if you like Phlox. It's definitely a Phlox Archer kind of episode. But a total change of pace from the week before. So hope to see everybody there.
Well, I'm Team T'Pol, so that's all good.
Right.
All right. Did Mark, did you have any? Were you going to say something else?
No, I'm good. Yep. We'll have Geekery. Geekery will be back. We'll be talking the FF trailer again too, I'm sure. And,
okay. I wasn't sure if you had it was a whole weekend gig you had going on.
No, I'll be back for the Geekery. Yep.
Well, don't go on any travels to where JT is, everybody. It's nasty, icy.
You can't get
lucky to even be here, right?
Yeah. You'll just
you're not going to work.
You'll try to land and you'll just slide right across the runway and take off again.
I'm not doing anything like that. No, I was enjoying my 80-degree sunny weather today. So
sounds
my
awful.
tongue
Sounds awful.
Oh, it was terrible. Oh gosh, it was actually like, man, I'm kind of getting some sunburn here a little bit. I had to come inside. I was like, holy cow, what the heck is going on? And then JT's like, man, we're gonna have an ice storm. I'm like, what? Yeah, then I remember they did say there was another winter storm coming in. And I also then kind of remembered it's just barely February.
I know my wife already has tomorrow off from school. She's a teacher.
I know.
But, still waiting for my kids to get canceled.
Oh, you're not having school tomorrow, dude.
Well,
there's no way. Right?
I don't think JT has school.
Yeah, I was going to make a snide comment like, well, I'm pretty sure I'm not going to school.
No. You're going to be at home. You're going to be at school and at home.
Yeah, I can work from home though. It's pretty easy being in IT. Yeah. It's not bad.
I always remember like back up in Alexandria, northern tip of the Virginia there. I always waited on winter for St. Patty's Day. Just give it through February, half of March. It's usually cold sometimes. It was every now and then it was nice, but most of the time it was kind of chilly. It snow every now and then. So I don't even consider winter until like end of March. You know what I mean? March, April.
Yeah.
But when you come out your door today or go out on the porch and it's like hot on your face, you're like, what the hell? And then you're like, go downstairs, walk outside. And it's like, wow. How did it like 82 in my car? But then I was like 70, 78 regular temperature, 77. I was like, man, yeah, this is nice until hurricane season comes back around. Right. So
a little windy, a little rainy.
Well, but Mark, I mean, you're on the same kind of level with him. How's it there?
Oh, it's not bad right now. It's 28 degrees, so not too bad. Yep.
Yeah, below freezing. It's not too bad. Yeah.
Oh, and okay. I know we don't talk politics here, but they did release the full video of Kamala Harris's 60 Minutes interview. If anyone wants to watch.
Oh,
that.
I'm down to talking about that.
I'm down. What was cut out? Yeah, I haven't watched yet, but I guess they finally. I apologize for bringing up politics, but
you don't.
Lawsuit.
No, you're good.
There was a lawsuit going on, I guess. So.
Well, Trump's suing for
billions and billions
with a B, right, JT? With a B.
Billions and billions.
Because he's suing them for election interference, man.
Yeah.
And I watched somebody who did a comparison video, and it wasn't AI. They weren't putting in because they were showing the other guy, the interviewer, with her. And now they're trying to find out whether or not they put in not just words every now and then, but maybe whole sections of it. You know what I mean? And just changed it around from other interviews with the words too.
Well, when CBS released it to the public, their statement simply said that they are now unburdened by what had been.
But it's so cringe, right, Mark? Is that what you were kind of getting at? Or are you heading toward the lawsuit part of it? Was that the whole interview was just by her, right? Mark? Did we lose Mark?
I don't know.
Yeah, sorry. I muted my mic to cough and I forgot to turn it on because I got a bad cold. Sorry. Yeah, no, so they said I was talking and so recapping. Yeah, they said the entire 60 Minutes interview is dropped. This will remind you how lucky America is that this lady did not win. I haven't watched it, but I just saw the headline before I started streaming. I guess they released it relative to the lawsuit or to settle the lawsuit.
They did.
Well, they're releasing it because of everybody wants to see it. They're going to get, because of the lawsuit. I think they're going to use it as a so they can't bury it. It's going to be evidence now. So
yeah, but they had to turn it over. So if they had erased it like Nixon had accidentally, quote unquote, accidentally erased part of the tape,
right?
Then,
right. So
they're in big trouble. Yep.
Trump's lawyers, all they have to do is see they went and erased it. So now they're she didn't win. She didn't win anyway. So the defense is probably, who cares? But now for her side of it, CBS is going to be in a lot of trouble here.
It is interesting from a pop culture perspective, right? Because CBS Paramount owns Star Trek and a bunch of other properties like that, right? And they've been trying to close the Skydance acquisition merger for a while now, right? And it keeps going around, and meanwhile CBS keeps accruing more and more debt, right? And so that deal has been going anywhere from I mean, whatever you believe in the news when you see it, but somewhere between 8 and 10 billion. But then you look at this lawsuit that was filed, and I have my doubts they could ever get 10 billion into judgment.
No, it's just playing chess, man. We know that. We know how he acts. We know how he operates now, but they're going to get crushed on this.
It's already a hard enough sell to close a deal for CBS and all of the baggage that's come along with that, right? Because a successful company wouldn't need to be sold to stay alive. If you
you don't need a pardon if you haven't
basically
done
double the cost of CBS because now they have to come up with all of that money, really does not make it attractive to a buyer at that point, right? Because you're going to overpay for it by twice as much as what you were struggling to get it to be valued at.
Yeah, if they're smart, they'll wait till all these lawsuits get done and then move in when they're desperate to get for money that they're going to have, because they're going to be paying out some. Didn't Melania Trump suing that cackle of hens, The View?
Well,
because she said that she was slandering her character by saying that she didn't even want to be with him, didn't even want to be his wife anymore, live on TV. She didn't want to be, like, you know what I mean? Just saying that kind of stuff.
Leaving all of that in the dust, I just look at it at what's going to happen to Star Trek and think,
good.
if CBS is in that much trouble, if they lose that lawsuit and they can't get sold, who will buy? Because I think they would piecemeal out the IP, and who would buy
billionaire
that?
somewhere overseas or somewhere is going to buy it. You know what I mean? Because they say they own a news channel now. But who does Stephanopoulos guy?
He's on ABC.
He's on ABC. So they just settled for millions and millions, right, Mark?
And he was a political operative, of course, in the Clinton campaign. If you watch the War Room, and what an SOB that guy is. I mean, he's great political operative, but famously, when George Bush was doing a town hall, he called into the town hall and got through. As it was rigged, he said, "Oh, I just called and got in." It's like, you called when the president which was famous. So he's a bastard, that guy. But
and he settled. He settled, Mark, because
he didn't.
They didn't want it to come out that CBS had actually told him to do it.
Yeah, so ABC settled.
ABC, sorry, I don't want to get sued.
But also came out today, Political was getting $8 million a year from the U.S. government.
Oh well, that just got busted today. That just came out today, yesterday or today.
All this stuff is coming out, like the Clintons got Bill and Chelsea got $84 million, and churches are getting hundreds of thousands of dollars.
And for all the sci-fi people out there, if you think this political stuff doesn't bleed into the stuff that you like, the BBC was getting funding, millions. And look what they did with Doctor Who and paywalling people in England for regular shows. Did you guys know that?
No.
Well, the ads had brought that up years ago, that they were trying to paywall
the TV.
I can't even get rugby. I've got to pay Peacock to do it. Yeah. I can't watch the games because it's such a big venue, the Six Nations, that anybody who tries to do that, here on this platform gets nuked. When they have the college games on, I've been able to, I shouldn't say too much. I don't do it. I can watch it, where, because other people can get away with it, but they're very good with nuking the other ones because it's a one-time venue, even though it goes on for several weeks. But even the BBC was getting some of our taxpayer money to fund their crap, and then they charge paywalls for some of their stuff, or at least they used to. Okay, just let me throw that out there, so BBC don't come after me. I wouldn't want you to nuke my 1 million subscribers. And if you haven't subscribed, everybody, please subscribe.
Dave, I was just looking at, who would buy Star Trek, because you would say some rich person would.
No, I mean a news channel that they can brag about. That own a news channel. That would be it. Right?
I was just going to say, I didn't trust Amazon to pick up Star Trek after what they did with Lord of the Rings in the last season of The Expanse. I wouldn't want Netflix to do it.
Oh.
I don't know if Hulu, if that's really their thing.
That's a Disney.
So what are you getting down to? HBO?
Well, Hulu's Disney, so it doesn't matter. I had to buy them and didn't realize
who else is going to do it? HBO, The Daily Wire. I mean, you're really getting down the list here on who has the money and who would trust to do it.
It came out. Somebody showed a tweet that he had retweeted about one of those guys, ranting and raving about Musk, and it has there it is. Andrew Soros reposted.
I would think it would be interesting if Comcast took over Star Trek and brought it back home to NBC. So the original series was on NBC, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was on. Yep.
As it originally aired.
NBC, a long time ago. Yeah, the original one. Yeah,
I think they might be the best bet.
So Phantom
Star Trek back.
Phantom pointed out the most damaging thing they said about Melina is that that Melina wanted to take him out, and they laughed, and even the other ladies were like, "She said that." Yeah, the Phantom. Thank you for that. That was the bad part. she didn't want to be there and all this. She wants to take him out, and you can almost hear the other people go, "Ooh, ha 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 ha." That one's gonna get us in trouble. You already heard it, right? Thanks for putting that out. So when you say that kind of crap on TV, they never learn, right? JT, we've been talking about not saying things, right? Saying things the right way, but you better have proof. So,
we're also funding the BBC big time too. They're finding out now. Yep.
Yeah, it's all coming out. So that's why I was saying for all the comic people, movie people, and people who like actors and all this kind of stuff, it's bled into the fun. BBC has ruined Doctor Who, and I don't care what you want to say about it.
You don't have to say anything about it. It's objectively ruined if you look at the viewing numbers.
But now, JT, Mark, we're saying it. You've probably seen it. I'm sorry if I'm talking over you on it, but
but the timeless children that killed Doctor Who, right? I mean, you retcon the whole series. I mean,
and then it got worse with the characters and worse.
Yeah, and they said 100%. Jojo Baker's doctor was the first Doctor, not the first Doctor.
I mean, they can say that to the last 5 fans, but it's not going to make it true.
Yeah, well, it comes to find out that the frickin' BBC is taking our money to fund it, help fund it. I'm like, what? Yeah. When did that happen? I was like, well, I knew things were bad. I remember I worked in that town for 16 years, lived in the northern part of Virginia where people had a Fauci, we love Fauci sign. Yeah,
they didn't even give it to PBS. They gave it to somebody else's corporation.
And I'm waiting for more to come out about NPR. Yeah. If people have been paying attention over the years and how bad that thing is, it's federally funded. Well, let the private citizens. I'm wondering if it's been federally funded on the sly, right? I don't know if it has been officially or not. I know they get millions in donations. But now I'm curious to see if that pops up, right? Because they are horrible, NPR. They've changed over the years. It used to be a good, reputable, trustworthy thing, but not. They got bad. You know what I'm talking about, guys? NPR, National Public Radio.
Yep. Oh yeah. Yep. Well, the woman, the new head of NPR is like, the truth is malleable. The truth is not so important. Yeah.
Oh, you saw that video of her doing that?
Yeah,
JT. The lady who runs
out a month ago, but
yeah,
it's been all
the lady who runs NPR says the truth is malleable. It doesn't have to be what it's supposed to be. Some shit like that, right, Mark?
Yeah. So it's just he defined the truth. I'm paraphrasing, but it was pretty bad. Yeah.
That sounds like a line from Ron Burgundy in Anchorman 2.
Yeah.
Oh, here, Fanti has something here on the BBC. Charges UK citizens cash. Oh, TV and a TV license.
Yeah, TV license. Yeah.
TV license just to watch regular TV, dude. And I'm like, is that true? And I guess Fanti was saying,
I think Switzerland used to have that too. Yeah, because it's public, so everyone had to pay, and allegedly had like TV scanners that would go around and see if you had, you're, receiving TV for free. But and of course now they have streaming. I guess you could pay for streaming, but it's public, so your taxes had to pay for it. I think Switzerland had. I'm trying to remember. My grandmother had to pay for TV. I think some countries were like that. Of course, we're all paying for, unless you cancel all your streaming services. You keep subbing to streaming services and trials and never forget to cancel them. Then you end up paying more than cable.
Right.
But
right.
Yeah, imagine sitting in the BBC boardroom with all the top people who are getting the checks, right? And they're watching people's streams on YouTube trashing Doctor Who because how bad it is, right? And then they sit back and they just laugh because they know they were getting USA money the whole time.
Yep.
And you're like, I keep streaming about it. You were paying me. Right, fandom? I mean, that's insane, man. Well, it's all coming. It's all crashing down now. That's why they're all acting like idiots, worse than ever. Saying some really bad stuff out there, too. I won't say some of the things they've been saying, but
Yeah.
it's kind of crazy, right?
Yeah. Well,
all right, guys. Anything else?
Shall we?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think we'll get on out of here, right?
Yeah. So let's do the thank yous. Phantom, thank you so much, JT and Mark. Obviously, right? For
Great to
coming
be
on
here.
the show. I always appreciate it. I know Buddy Hepburn, Matthew Pounder. I'm trying to scroll back. Dad Man popped in for a quick second. Here's Phantom. Always contributing. Him and Buddy and Matthew. FKHC 2005. Thank you so much. You've been here since the beginning. Comic Relief Crusader was here earlier. Maybe you're still there. Thank you so much. I thought somebody else might have squeaked in. Yes, I can't. What was his name? I can't. Oh, dude, I can't find you. He did. I highlighted one of his comments, but I can't think of his name.
You had Comic Relief Crusader, Ultra Ball Bunker.
Bunker, yep. He did the quantum leapfrog joke for the brass frog in the cartoon. I mean, in the comic, it was hilarious. Yeah, there it is, right there. Ultra Ball Bunker. He stops in every now and then. Thank you so much, Buddy Hepburn. And again, as always, if I've missed you, I am sorry, but I thank you anyway. So on that, we say good night. See you next week, hopefully for 4 and 5. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Have fun storming the castle.